greatest, you could be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You could beat the world, you could beat the war. You could talk to God, go banging on his door. You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks. You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you can find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. And the world's gonna know your name, 'cause you burn with the brightest flame. And the world's gonna know your name, and you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. Distance, you could run the mile. You could walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be the hero, you could get the gold, breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Do it for your people, do it for your pride. How you ever gonna know if you never even tried? Do it for your country, do it for your name, 'cause there's gonna be a day when you're standing in the Hall of Fame, and the world's gonna know your name. You burn with the brightest flame, and the world's gonna know your name. And the world's gonna know your name. For luck, dedicated, you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame.
We're thankful that the Selma High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC Color Guard is here tonight, posting the colors and performing the Star Spangled Banner. We have 5 members of the Bulldog Beat Pep Band who you can hear at the Save Mart Center all year long. Here's the Star Spangled Banner. Again, we're in for a very special night tonight. My name is Paul Leffler, and it is my privilege to welcome you to our 61st annual Enshrinement Dinner. Another reminder of how blessed we are to live in this community, of how many things we have going for us, of the fact, not a thought, but a fact, that from Fresno and the Valley, you really can go anywhere and do anything. We're going to be reminded tonight the fact that we're surrounded by so many talented and outstanding people. And one of those talented and outstanding people is going to come now and share a few words, including our invocation. Please welcome one of my favorite Fresnans, an outstanding athlete and a great leader in our community, Mr. Tom Summers.
Thank you, Paul. As has been our tradition, we want to remember the inductees who have passed away since our dinner 1 year ago. So tonight we want to remember Ansel Robinson, inducted 1963, born on September the 12th of 1933, went home to be with the Lord on September the 12th of 2019. Same day, same month, 86 years later. Ansel Robinson, one of the greatest athletes ever to go to Fresno State College, a great track and field. Tied the world record in 220 low hurdles in 1957, 22.2. Set a Fresno State record in 120 high hurdles in 1958. That record was not broken again until 1994. Selma High School, Fresno State College, served in Korea. Second, Truman Clevenger, right-handed pitcher, inducted 1987, nicknamed Tex. Visalia High School, Fresno State College, played for Hank Biden at Visalia High and the great Pete Biden at Fresno State College. Grew up with the great Jack Hanna, who is here this evening. At Fresno State, he had an outstanding career and became the first Fresno State baseball player to reach the major leagues. Was signed by the Boston Red Sox in 1953, went to the San Jose, California League, and was Rookie of the Year. 16-2 with a 1.51 ERA, went to the Major League Ball Club the following year. Was involved in a major trade with the Washington Senators, had some outstanding years as a relief pitcher with Washington. Went on to the California Angels in the expansion draft in 1960, and then finished his career with the New York Yankees, winning the World Series in 1961 and 1962. Truman Clevenger was a close friend. Porterville, great car business. Third, the great Paul Schechter, inducted in 2016. He was the head athletic trainer for Fresno State, director of sports medicine. They also presented the Paul Schechter Courage Award each year to a Fresno State student, an athlete who overcame physical challenges. He was the head trainer 3 times for the United States Olympic trials and also for the World Military Games. Paul Schechter was a very popular man. Hitting fourth, John Carbray, a great longtime friend, was the top minor league, darn rights, top minor league man in the entire professional baseball for many years. He operated professional baseball for a long time. Was the youngest Northwest League president, 1969. And then he also was the head guy of the Portland Mavericks. And some of you might remember that ball club. They were not even affiliated with a major league team. They had Bing Russell, the actor, and his famous son, Kurt Russell, on that ball club. And they drew more people than most AAA teams did that year. John and Diane came to Fresno with the idea they're going to build and establish a AAA ball club. And they did that, the Fresno Grizzlies. This began in 1998, playing at Biden Field, then moved into their great AAA stadium downtown in 2002. That stadium today is still considered one of the top AAA stadiums in the entire nation. That's the house that John and Diane Carbray built. If I'm a little emotional on John, he just passed away a short time ago. He was Pacific Coast League Executive of the Year, and he was a very special friend. And lastly, we're also going to remember a former board member of the Fresno Athletic Hall of Fame tonight, our dear friend Ray Ocanto, who passed away recently. He was on our board from Visalia, played for the great Bob Bennett at Fresno State, had a great baseball career, later became involved with the great Paul Leffler here, especially during the 2008 College World Series team, and everybody will remember forever, "Get dirty, baby, get dirty." That was Ray Ocanto's line. A radio and TV personality with a big smile, doing a lot of work for restaurants and businesses in our town. So let's take a moment of silence to remember Ansel Robinson, Truman Clevenger, Paul Schechter, John Carbray, and Ray Ocanto, and then I'll lead us in our opening invocation. Father, I thank you for these 5 special men. We also thank you, Lord, for all these past inductees and the people that are being, and the teams that are being inducted in this Hall of Fame tonight. You have given us something very special. They tell us across the country that the Fresno Athletic Hall of Fame ranks in the top 2% of all Hall of Fames in America. 61 years. John Voinas, Ed Orman, and a great board that got this thing all started way back in 1959 with the first class. You have blessed us with some outstanding athletes and coaches, businessmen and women, It's been a great, great fun ride to be involved with this Hall of Fame and how they have impacted our community. So we're thankful. Thankful for the great food that Jimmy Pardini and his gang are providing for us tonight. Thankful for all that's going to take place and for all those that are being honored. We want this to be a very, very special night for them and for their families. And we just give you thanks for every man, woman, and child that's here with us tonight. And we just give you thanks in the great name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you. Back to Paul Loeffler.
That was hard to see all those friends that are no longer here. And I couldn't help but think when Truman Clevenger's face came up, I was thinking of our friend Coach Bob Bennett, who could not be here tonight, but true to form, Bob Bennett, one of our past inductees, the Hall of Fame coach of Fresno State, who the stadium is now named after. True to form, Bob penned a letter of congratulation to be delivered to each one of our inductees tonight, complete with a poem that he had written. That's so like Bob. But if he were here tonight, he would tell you that not only was everything that Tom Summers said about Truman Clevenger true, that Truman, in his second no-hitter, he's the only Bulldog pitcher to ever pitch two, in his second no-hitter against Pacific, he struck out 20 in 9 innings and went 5 for 5 at the plate with 2 triples. So if any of you can tell me an individual performance in a baseball game greater than that, please find me afterwards. I'd love to hear it. Speaking of outstanding achievements in athletics, one thing that we have the privilege of doing every year is recognizing champions from our community who have won a national or higher title in the past 12 months on the calendar. Not all of them could be here with us tonight, but we're going to recognize their accomplishments on the screen, whether they're here or not, and then we'll ask those honorees who are here with us to stand for your appreciation. First, we have world champion boxer Jose Ramirez, who added his second global title in July when he claimed the WBO super lightweight world title. The 27-year-old from Avenal, who attended Fresno State and makes his home here, won his first title in 2018. After the Olympics, he turned pro in 2012. He has won every single one of his fights, 25 of them, 17 of those by knockout. His next title defense is going to be early next year, and as some of you have seen and hopefully got to see up close and personal, a statue of Jose was put on display at the Fresno County Historical Museum at the fairgrounds. He could not be here tonight, but we want to thank the one and only Jose Ramirez for donating some autographed boxing gloves for our silent auction, which, by the way, that silent auction is going to close at 7:40. So if you haven't put your bids down, you might want to sneak back as soon as you take another bite of that great Pardini's meal. All right, so Jose couldn't be here tonight. Next, we have Clovis swimmer Claire Tuggle, who continues to make a splash on the national swimming scene. She's training with a swim club in Davis, and in August, she won the 800-meter freestyle at the U.S. Junior National Swimming Championships at Stanford. National champion. That's incredible. In June of this year, in Casper, Wyoming, of all places, Fresno State senior Colton Campbell won the all-around championship. That's the highest possible honor in college national finals rodeo. He was representing the Fresno State Bulldoggers club rodeo team, and the native of Klamath Falls, Oregon, claimed Fresno State's first individual men's title in 35 years. Pretty impressive. You can clap, and they're going to stand in a minute. You all look good tonight, but there is no one who looks sharper in your outfit tonight than U.S. Army veteran and Fresno State alum Jackie Lovato, who went to the National Veterans Golden Age Games held in June in Anchorage, Alaska. He returned to Fresno with 10 medals, 4 in swimming, 3 in track and field, 2 in badminton, and 1 in table tennis. What don't you do, Jackie? Jackie Lovato, at 68 years young, was the star of the games with 6 gold medals among his 10 in the 65 to 69 age group. And in May, in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Fresno State Women's Rugby Club won the Division II National Club Championship. After they beat Tulane 57-17 in the semifinals, the Fresno ladies took care of Salisbury, Maryland in the title game 25-19. And it is the Fresno State Rugby Club's first ever national championship.
The Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame's Harold Zinken Award was established in 2010 to not only honor Mr. Zinken, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1993, but also to recognize an individual or group that has made a significant difference for the youth of Fresno County. Harold Zinken won the first ever Mr. California title in 1941 and placed second in the Mr. America competition in 1945, routinely hoisting over his head barbells double his body weight. However, barbells and stacks of weights were not the best answer to his way of thinking, as he served as a physical education instructor in the Navy. After moving to Fresno in the early 1950s, Zinken filed for his first of 6 patents associated with weight training equipment. He revolutionized the industry with the invention of the safer and more appealing universal gym machine that found its way into most schools, fitness centers, and even the White House. Congratulations to the 2019 Harold Zinken Award honoree, cheerleader extraordinaire, the one-man Bulldog Spirit Squad, and community enthusiast, Inman "Perky" Perkins. Inman's cheerleading career began at Fresno City College in the early 60s, with yearbooks filled with young Mr. Perkins always entertaining. His presence at Fresno State sporting events began with football games at Ratcliffe Stadium when he was a student from 1962 to 65. 12 years into working for a living in the mailroom at the Fresno Bee, Perkins came out of Bulldog cheering hibernation, first helping mentor and then leading yells at Fresno State football and basketball games. A couple of players approached him in 1977 and said their Bulldog baseball team needed him, and Inman was happy to oblige when not posing with other famous cheerleaders. From the top of the dugouts in full Bulldog regalia, Inman is the diamond ringmaster, understanding that baseball is made for cheerleading with all the breaks in between innings. He has made Fresno State baseball an interactive event for 40-plus seasons. His charismatic barbs have made an impression with young and old, especially his opening welcome of, "It's a great day to be a Bulldog." For the past 10 years, Perky has also been volunteering at Fresno's Chaffee Zoo as a docent and tour guide to elementary school students. We thank Fresno State Magazine for many of these images and information. Inman Perkins has never played an inning of baseball, nor a down of football, or a minute of basketball for the Bulldogs, but he is the biggest standout in Fresno State cheerleading history.
Congratulations to Inman Perkins, and making the presentation of the plaque to Inman are Harold Zinken's great-grandchildren, Michael Dillon, Drew Dillon, and Rockland Zinken. Go ahead and give it to him. All right, Inman, come on up. You can have this podium mic, and I'll use the other one here. So, this whole story that Pat alluded to there about 1977 and your coming out of cheerleading retirement, I heard that it had something to do with the building of Bulldog Stadium.
Oh, yes.
And that you were going to help train the pep squad, and then what happened?
Well, I trained them because what the kids were doing was high school cheers, and you can't do high school cheers at a college game because you people are not paying attention to you. So anyway, I'm trying to train them, and about 4 weeks went by, and homecoming was coming up, and they still hadn't gotten it. So I told them, I said, okay, look, I'll do the warm-up for you for the game. So I did the warm-up, and everything went well. So I was getting ready to go back to my seat, and they come to me and said, well, we want you to do the game. And I said, are you sure? And they said, yes. So I did the game. And I had the most phenomenal game that I've ever had in my life. In closing, I would like to thank, over the years, especially my Fresno State fans, and especially one fan who sits with me during the games. If you go to the games and you see this lovely young lady sitting with me, that's my granddaughter, Monique. She is my helper, make sure that I get the cheers right, and make sure I leave on time so I can get to the dugouts on time. I tell you, and to the Fresno State baseball fans, as I tell you every year, thank you for your support, your beautiful voices. You are simply the best. Thank you, and everybody, go Dogs.
All right, the one and only, and I mean that. Nobody in the country in college baseball has an Inman Perkins except the Fresno State Bulldogs. Even the folder he brought his speech in is red. So, Inman, I need you to do one thing for me. Take this microphone. I mean, what's the point of having Inman Perkins here getting this award if he doesn't do what Inman Perkins does? Because I see 5 rows of tables over here, and I see 5 rows of tables over there, and it sure seems like the Go Dogs thing would work in here, Inman.
Oh, yeah.
Can you get it going?
Yeah. All right, everybody on this side, say go. Go. Everybody on this side, say dogs. Last time. Oh, thank you. You were great.
Thank you, Paul Leffler, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to welcome all of you to our 61st Annual Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame Enshrinement Awards Dinner and Fundraiser. So thank you very much, all of you, for your bidding at the silent auction. For those of you who are new to the dinner this year, the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame has been privileged to recognize and memorialize the rich legacy of athletic achievement since 1958. We have been recognized nationally among the top 2% of community halls of fame. I can report to you tonight that our partnership with the Fresno County Office of Education and Fresno State is as strong as ever in establishing a permanent home in the Save Mart Center. And you're going to hear more about our progress in just a few minutes. We're all about kids at the Hall of Fame, whether it's putting on a young women's conference event for 60 girls ranging from 12 to 17 years old, or recognizing a young student athlete through the Dr. Peter G. Mihas Scholarship. It's no different when it comes to our permanent home. Our board is committed to creating interactive experiences for kids through lessons of character, teamwork, and ethical behavior modeled by our current and past Hall of Famers. My congratulations tonight to the 3 individual and 2 team inductees for being chosen to enter this elite fraternity of champions. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors this evening, and there's 4 in particular I'd like to thank. Producers Dairy, the Richard Shahadi family, Dwayne Zinkin, attorney at law, and the Zinkin family, Wawona Frozen Foods and the Bill Smitkamp family, and Pardini's Catering and the Jimmy Pardini family. And certainly all of you this evening for making tonight possible. Lastly, I would like to thank our hard-working board of directors and staff, and a special shout out tonight to dinner chairperson Linda Day for this great evening. Thank you. How about a hand for our hard-working board and staff? So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are very excited to announce some very exciting developments taking place with our new home project at the Save Mart Center. Please watch the video.
Welcome to the future home of the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. We are here in the beautiful Save Mart Center on the Fresno State campus. The Fresno Athletic Hall of Fame was founded in 1958 by Ed Orman and John Voinas. We are a nonprofit organization that depends completely on community support. And we urge you to get involved with this project and help us realize the legacy of athletics in Fresno County.
Fresno County's rich sports history is full of champions on and off the court. Their stories will soon be told inside of the Save Mart Center, which will be home to the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame.
When kids come in here, I mean, these athletes are going to look larger than life up there.
This empty corner will come alive with several colorful displays that will feature much more than uniforms and photos.
There will be interactive kiosks in the middle of the space where our kids and our families can walk up, they can push on the screen and learn about a particular athlete.
The Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame is partnered with Fresno State and the Fresno County Office of Education on the $1.5 million project. Superintendent Jim Jovino believes the display's proximity to Fresno State will also inspire many kids to attend college.
We have amazing athletes, but what we really want students to understand, it's about that hard work that really is what propelled them to that next level.
The Hall of Fame will be open to the public throughout the week. Jovino envisions students taking field trips here to celebrate the past, and those visits will help inspire the next generation.
We want things that will really draw kids to want to be there, their teachers to want to have them on the college campus, and we feel like the Athletic Hall of Fame has really hit a home run here.
The Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame is expected to open next fall.
Good evening. What you just had an opportunity to see on the screen is an evolution of a mutually supportive partnership that actually began 4 years ago on this very stage. In the words of Dr. Castro, president of Fresno State, imagine an interactive learning environment where visitors of all ages will be inspired by the compelling stories of overcoming challenges to achieve greatness, stories of hard work and sacrifice, stories that will leave you in awe of the immense dedication and determination required to be recognized as a Hall of Famer. As a result of the ongoing support of Fresno State, the County Office of Education, and many of you in the audience tonight, we are proud to announce that our capital campaign has currently raised over $1.2 million for this project. We as a board are determined more than ever to finally reach our $1.5 million goal, so we have a ways to go. If you or anyone you know of has interest in this project, please ask them to call our office, and I assure you that I will follow up with them. On October 8th, our board of directors unanimously made a historic decision to proceed with construction of the first phase of a 61-year-old dream of our founding fathers. When we reached our project goal of 1.5, we're prepared for a full build-out. Our tentative project schedule is to break ground in April of next year, with a tentative grand opening for late summer. We will certainly let all of you know about that particular date. Unfortunately, construction never seems to go according to plan, so I would urge you to stay in touch with or look at our website for regular updates on our project progress. Concurrent with construction of this project of our new home will be the development of meaningful content and curriculum for visitors to enjoy. The legacy of athletics in our county is rich with amazing stories of the character and commitment of the men and women enshrined in this Hall of Fame. Last Saturday, we began the process of interviewing our past inductees to hear their personal stories. I had the distinct privilege of listening to 6 Hall of Fame inductees tell incredible stories about their life. There are many, many, many lessons in those stories for all of us, but especially for the young people of this county. On the screen, you'll see Coach Red Estes. Now, this took a while, but we gave him a little makeup, and he actually looked pretty darn good. But Red did a tremendous job. You also see Hall of Famer and softball standout Gina Behrens actually participated in her interview. This next weekend, we have 14 more of our Hall of Famers that will be conducting these interviews. All of these stories were personal, heartfelt examples of the importance of family, success, failure, challenges each and every one of them had to overcome on their way to becoming a Hall of Famer. We hope their stories will provide inspiration for our visitors. We are very proud to contribute to the whole cultural heritage of Fresno County. Speaking of inspiration and character, we certainly don't have to look very far for examples in our own community. On April 5th, 2019, 12 members of the Kepler Middle School volleyball team were jogging, doing their normal workout over the Tuolumne Street Bridge as part of their after-school routine. During their routine workout, several members of the team noticed a young woman on the bridge appearing to be preparing to jump in an apparent suicide attempt. As a result of these young Kepler team quick thinking, a very fragile and depressed young lady made the life-saving decision to hoist herself back onto the bridge and wait for police units to arrive. Because of the genuine concern demonstrated by these young men, she ultimately convinced herself she had a life worth living. Because of Kepler School's 4 C's program, which teaches character, community, competence, and creativity, these young men were prepared and acted decisively to save this woman's life. Please join the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame in recognizing the players and coaches of the Kepler Middle School volleyball team as tonight's champions of character.
We have the chance to honor those legends among us, those past inductees who have graced us with their presence again tonight. So I'm going to read their names, and you'll see a photo of them on the screen, and then when we're all done, they'll have a chance to stand. First, we have Frank Jake Abbott, inducted in 1986, a great player at Fresno State and a Hall of Fame coach as well. John Ahlstrom will be next. He was inducted in 1991 for the sport of volleyball. He played on the Olympic team in 1968 in Mexico City, a year after he led the Fresno Volleyball Club to a national championship. Wade Blasingame is here tonight, inducted in 1985. Maybe the greatest high school pitcher, record-wise, Fresno's ever seen. 26-0 for the Roosevelt Rough Riders before a 10-year career in the major leagues. Len Bourdette, inducted in 1975. He was an outstanding baseball and basketball player at Fresno State. After he got home from World War II, where he survived the Battle of Okinawa, he's in this Hall of Fame because he's one of the winningest coaches in junior college baseball history, leading the Fresno City College Rams to 4 state championships, including 3 in a row. Here's another Hall of Fame coach who played for Fresno State's first College World Series team in 1959. The next picture you're going to see after Coach Bourdette there will be Merv Carter. Merv was inducted in the year 2000 after coaching at Clovis High and McLean. He could still coach a winter if he wanted to, but he's busy watching his grandson play for the Ducks up in Eugene. Our next inductee made a beautiful bulldog rocking horse back there if you didn't have a chance to check it out. The next slide will be a past inductee from 1976, if we can change it up and go from Merv to one of the greatest softball players the Valley has ever known. Can we see Jean Contel up there? There she is, all right. I know some of you remember her as an administrator as well. We all remember this next gentleman, if we take a look at the next slide, as a Hall of Fame wrestling coach from Fresno State. Hey, great picture, Coach. Inducted in 1998, the one and only Dennis DeLito. Let's take a close look for makeup on this next guy's face, because we just saw him getting it applied in that video. If we can switch to the one and only Red Estes, inducted in 2010. A Hall of Fame career coaching track and field and cross country at Fresno State. And after E comes F, and a guy who spent a lot of time around Coach Estes and is a legend in the track and field community. There's only one of these guys in the country, and he proves it with his Clovis Street Vault every year. If we could take a look at the smiling face of Layton's own Bob Fraley. There he is, inducted in 2008, a Hall of Fame coach who saved Fresno State's track program. Boy, it's track coach time, I guess, because the next guy you get to see up there not only is a great golfer, I think he's still stuck on 14 holes in one, but that is Bobby Freeze, inducted in 2007, a Hall of Fame track coach over at Fresno City College. We should have brought the track in here at the rate we're going, because the next gentleman is another track Hall of Famer, inducted just 2 years ago. In 2017, he was a decathlete before he taught us all about fishing in the newspaper, and that's Roger George. If you've noticed, we're going alphabetical here. So after George comes Gilbert. And Merrick Gilbert coached a lot of sports, including basketball. Not a bad fisherman either. He was inducted here in 1993. Great to have you here tonight, Coach. I was real excited to see this next gentleman here tonight. He's been through the ringer the last few months, but look at that smile. We didn't even make him sing for us here tonight. Maybe he'll do a solo for you later. Inducted in 1998, one of the all-time great pitchers from Fresno State, a Hall of Fame coach, and a good football player too, a Hall of Fame singer as well, the one and only Jack Hanna. I see a lot of this guy, and you hear a lot of them. And if you're at Bulldog Stadium Saturday at 4 o'clock, do not leave early, because in the first time out of the fourth quarter, every home game, what happens? Does anybody know? The hot dog race. The most exciting moment of the whole game when Pat Hill is calling play-by-play of the hot dog race. He has fun with that, but how much fun did we have watching his Bulldogs for 15 years play anyone, anytime, anywhere, and beat a whole lot of them. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Inducted last year in 2018. One of the all-time great basketball players at Fresno State. I wish I could have seen him play. I've heard a lot of stories. Scored a lot of points, pulled down a lot of rebounds. Inducted in 1996, Lonnie Huey. Great to have you here. Can anyone think of a sport where Fresno and the Valley haven't had one of the all-time greats? Here's one of the all-time great swim coaches, including Team USA and a decorated college coaching career, Skip Kenny. So before you listen to the hot dog race at the stadium on Saturday, go over to the Bulldog volleyball game, because Ruth Lewanson is going to have her jersey number unveiled, retired for the Bulldog volleyball program. She was an All-American at Fresno State and an Olympic bronze medalist. Ruth Lewanson. Fresno State's softball legacy is so proud, and here's another one of our all-time greats, inducted way back in 1982, Gloria May. Another former Bulldog basketball player who I wish I could have seen live and in person, inducted in 2002, scored a whole lot of points, Mike McPherson. That guy was inducted in 2015, and maybe you know him as the godfather of golf in our community, Steve Mancinella. Diane Miljutinovich went in the Hall of Fame in 2014 for athletic administration. She continues to consult and advocate with people around the country for Title IX and gender equity. Glad you're here tonight, Diane. Earlier I said Jackie Lovato won Best Dressed, but the best haircut goes to the guy who's been rocking the best crew cut in the Valley for 60 years. Dean Philpott. This guy played running back, he played defense, he kicked extra points, he punted the football, one of the all-time great Bulldogs, and the master of the crew cut, the Anaheim assassin, Dean Philpott. Our next past inductee here tonight was inducted in 2003. So World War II Navy veteran, and what an incredible, generous member of our community who leads by example, the one and only Bud Richter. You know you're a versatile athlete when your Hall of Fame induction boasts about 3 sports, volleyball, tennis, and basketball. He might even still be playing all 3 without telling us. Inducted in 2005, George Sarantos. Another Bulldog legend and Olympian in the sport of softball, inducted just last year. It was a great speech if you were here. Shelley Stokes. Another one of Fresno State's proud softball All-Americans out of Hanford High School, doing great work at Fresno State now and with the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame, Gina Strang-Behrens. From the class of 2004, another one of those great Bulldog basketball players just a few years back, Big Maurice Talbot. If any of you ever went to a high school football game in the last few years in San Marcos, home of the Knights, north of San Diego, you would see that the field there is named for our 2006 inductee and former national decathlon champ, John Warkentin. When I walked in the room and saw that smiling face tonight, I said, "Hey, you win any tournaments lately?" He said, "Yeah." Because that's all Mike Watney does, a Hall of Fame coach, my favorite organ donor, inducted in 2012, Fresno State's Mike Watney. Last but not least, in alphabetical order of these past inductees here tonight, we have the governor of powerlifting, inducted in 2013, Pete Wilson.
Thanks very much to, obviously, Paul Leffler for going through that slideshow. We are truly in the presence of greatness here tonight. And now it is my pleasure to be able to welcome the class of 2019. So everyone, if you could please direct your attention to the first inductee on the boards. Jake Abbott knew pretty early on in the summer of 1960 that his American Legion baseball team was special. At the high school level, pitching is important, he said. With these two kids, Wade Blassingame and Dale Williams, we would be tough to beat. We had some kids who were pretty good hitters, too. Abbott was the head baseball coach at Roosevelt High School for 7 years. He won 3 Valley championships during that span. However, arguably his greatest achievement at Roosevelt was a team he coached when school was not in session. On August 14th, 1960, Jake Abbott led Roosevelt's American Legion team, Fresno Post 4, to a state championship. It is the only team from the Central Valley to ever win the California State American Legion Junior Baseball Championship. Fresno Post 4, which had 6 of its 15 players go on to play professional baseball, only lost 4 games all summer. The team went 16-2 during its league season, followed by a sweep over Delano and a series win, 2 out of 3, over Modesto, to qualify for the championship tournament in Stockton. Coach Abbott recalls a tape measure home run by Jerry Rosser to help Fresno Post 4 beat Modesto. The aforementioned Dale Williams pitched one of the games at the championship tournament, and when Williams was not pitching, it was typically Wade Blassingame on the mound. Just 17 years old that summer, Coach Abbott referred to Blassingame, the future Major League pitcher, as having, quote, probably the best curveball he ever saw. Blassingame and Williams are 2 of the best pitchers to ever come out of Roosevelt High School. After winning the state championship in Stockton, Fresno Post 4 advanced to the Western Regional Finals in Bend, Oregon. The team saw its season end in the championship game against Arizona. We simply ran out of pitching, said Abbott. Now, I don't know how it's possible. Is this on? Sorry. Hello, hello. There we go. I don't know how it's possible to run out of pitching with those types of players that you have on the team. Before we get to the Q&A with Coach and with Wade, we want to introduce all the members who are here with us tonight. Jake Abbott, head coach. Wade Blassingame. And then down in front, from stage left to right, we'll start at alphabetical order. Tom Avakian. By the way, did you guys see that trophy in that video? That was Tom's. He still has that from 1960. Thurman Bell. Tom Ellithorpe. Unfortunately, Jerry Fleming is no longer with us, but we have 2 representatives for him here tonight. His daughters, Jamie Dean and Suzanne Fleming. Gary Groth. Howard Martin. Brendan Unjin. Jerry Rosser. Howard Schmidt. Tom Summers. And we'd also like to acknowledge, unfortunately, a few members who are not with us any longer, Major Martin, Dale Williams, and Don Prees. If we can get a round of applause for everybody, please. All right, now, Coach, I got to ask you, nowadays you've got travel baseball, you've got showcase baseball, but American Legion was the thing to do. What was it like in its heyday?
What was like when?
In its heyday, when everyone was playing it.
In California, that was the epitome of high school baseball throughout the state. And every time we played, there would be a number of scouts that would be there. It was a real training grounds for professional ball players and also for colleges.
I still can't get over the fact that you had 6 players on your team of 15 go on to play professional baseball. How rare is that at that time to have that much talent on one team?
Well, I think it may have been 7 because our bat boy, Bobby Groth, signed later on when he went to Fresno State. So it was a good ball club, and there were some good ball players, and it's just a matter of making sure I had them in the right spot, and they did their job. So we had a good team.
I think good is an understatement. One of the guys who, of course, went on to play pro ball is Wade Blassingame. Now, both of these gentlemen, by the way, inducted as individuals. Wade, you played for the Astros, you played for the Milwaukee Braves, you played for the Yankees. How would you rank this accomplishment with this 1960 Roosevelt team among everything you experienced in pro baseball?
Well, certainly one of the a big thrill, a big highlight, really in my career there with Roosevelt. You know, we were an okay team. We were an okay team, but I can tell you when Coach Abbott took our club over, took the school over in our program, that changed. You know, all of us learned a little bit more. We learned a lot about pitching, defense. You know, if I had Coach Abbott with me, if I could have taken him with me on my pro career, it'd have been a hell of a lot better.
Well, I got to ask you, because one of your teammates when you were with the Braves was Hank Aaron, and I know you guys are still close today. You got any stories there for us about Hammer and Hank?
Oh, I can tell you, you know, when I got traded, you know, my career started in Milwaukee. And I was very veteran. The Milwaukee Braves was a very veteran ball club, and I was about 18 years old, joined the club in San Francisco. Just came off of a World Series in 1957, but welcomed me as a big bonus signee. You know, I got a few little dropped eyebrows, but they were very kind to me. Henry and I, when I got traded from Milwaukee to Houston, I came back in Fulton County Stadium and was pitching against the Braves in Atlanta. And of course, Hank comes up and hits a grand slam off of me. The first one in Fulton County Stadium. But he and I are good friends. I see him. We're going to be in Atlanta next week, my wife and I always come by. Henry is about 87 and still in good health. We're very close friends.
That young, huh?
That young.
Yeah, Coach is 88 years young, by the way. So Wade, a lot of people out there may not know, when your playing career was done, you went to go work on the Alaska pipeline. How did that happen?
Well, that was pretty unusual. Some people said, "What, you're going to Alaska?" And I said, "Why you heading north?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Why are you going to Alaska?" And I said, "Well, I lost about that much off my fastball." And I said, "I'm heading north." But anyway, I was fortunate enough. I've spent over 40 years in Alaska. My wife and I just flew in here the other day for this event, and we're very happy that we're here and get a chance to see Coach Abbott and the rest of our teammates. But I spent 40 years up there. Just a few little tidbits. Our corporate office is in Barrow, Alaska, the furthest little town north of Alaska. They're closing in on about 70 days with no sun. And it's an adjustment. It's a beautiful state. And I'm sure a lot of folks out here have been to Alaska, but it's been very enjoyable. I've kind of worked my way up through the corporate side. We're very involved with American Legion Baseball there. I've had a number of Hall of Fame players come up that I've called and no charge to help the program. So we're very, very active in baseball. You know, the whole summers you're out 2 o'clock in the morning, you're playing baseball. You know, sun all the time. So,
but when it's dark, you don't need to worry about losing that off your fastball now.
No.
Well, Coach, you've often said that he's got the best curveball you've ever saw. Yeah, so right now, do you think he can go and strike a couple of people out?
I do. I think he looks in pretty good shape. I was very pleased how he looks, and I think he could go out and do it. He had good arm and a lot of competitiveness. He was good. I would like to mention one thing, if I might. You know, as a coach, you know, whether they sign professionally or whether or not whatever they do, you're always proud of what kind of men they've become. And this group of fellows have become wonderful, successful young men. They're educators, they're businessmen, they're a number of things, corporation president, and so that makes me feel very proud. On the other side of the coin, I'm very sad that we've lost 4 of our players who are not with us, and we lost Dale Williams, who was a big bonus player for the Dodgers and did play a short while for the Dodgers. We lost Donnie Price, who was an outfielder. We lost Jerry Fleming, who was our third baseman. And also, I want to mention, we lost Major Martin, who was a lieutenant and was killed in Vietnam. And that was a real tragedy for us. In fact, some of you will remember, might have been there, they held the memorial service in the auditorium at Roosevelt High School. And it was a very nice affair, and we were all very pleased or proud to have been there to honor his memory.
Tough to make a transition away from that, but who would you guys like to thank? Who would you like to recognize out there tonight that helped you win this award?
Well, certainly I'd like to thank my wife, who's here this evening. My 2 children are here with their spouses, Russ, my son, and Jill, my daughter, and Carrie, my daughter-in-law, and Ken, my son-in-law. And fortunately, Ken and Jill, they drove us up here. It's a long drive for us now. So we really appreciate their driving it. And I would like to recommend the people who have really helped me in my career, and that would be my father, Morris Abbott, my high school principal, Bob Miner. When I went out to Clovis High School as the principal, a great help was Floyd Buchanan, a real mentor. So those people I would like to thank for any successes that I've had.
Wade, good luck following that.
Oh, that's a good one. No, that's a special man here, Coach Abbott, I can tell you. I would like to, you know, when this event was being planned here, special thanks to Barbara and Tom Summers. You know, he said, we chatted a lot a bit in Alaska, and absolutely I wanted to be here, but much thanks to them. They had a nice luncheon for us yesterday. Some of these guys I haven't seen in 45 years, so that was great. But special thanks there on table 13, my wife of 47 years, Dean, my sister is here. Thank her for all of her support. And Doug Sordide. The Sordeides have been very, very close friends with my dad, Dale, my mother, Evelyn, and John and Hazel Sordide. But Doug is here tonight. They've been farming in Madera for over 80 plus years. Wonderful people. And just a special thanks. And of course, all the teammates and Coach Abbott, it's been a real pleasure. My dad, Dale, and Evelyn have been very, very supportive, as Coach knew them very, very well. So we think pleasure to be here. It's a long trip, but wouldn't miss it. It's great.
I did look over the group as they came here yesterday, and I think we're going to go out and run wind sprints tomorrow.
Well, I think we have enough track inductees to be able to help you with that. Jake Abbott and Wade Blasingame on behalf of the 1960 Roosevelt American Legion baseball team. Congratulations, Coach. If you would all please turn your attention to the video screens for our next inductee. It was the biggest upset in volleyball ever, us winning. That is how George Sarantos describes the accomplishment of the 1967 Fresno Volleyball Club winning the U.S. National Championship. Teams were seeded by how they did, said Sarantos. We weren't seeded. We ended up being the best team in the United States. Sarantos was the team's setter and coach. He was also a former Fresno State basketball player. The Fresno Volleyball Club was formed years earlier at the downtown YMCA. Made up of 9 players, 7 of whom were from Fresno and all in their 20s and 30s, it spent most of its time competing in tournaments in Northern California, where it typically finished anywhere from 2nd to 6th place. In early 1967, the group made the decision to enter the U.S. Volleyball National Championship in Detroit, Michigan. Bob Kurtovich did not make the trip, leaving the team with just 8 players traveling to the Midwest. The week before the national championship, at the same venue in Detroit, was the National AAU Championship, and the Fresno Volleyball Club entered that tournament as well. Out of 28 teams in the field, Fresno finished in 4th place. However, its only losses were to the teams that won and finished runner-up. That set the stage for what would happen the following week. The Fresno Volleyball Club was one of 39 teams entered in the U.S. Volleyball National Championship. It was the only one left standing at the end. Fresno started off the double elimination tournament by beating Ohio State, followed by wins over Outrigger, the AAU champs, Columbus, and Los Angeles YMCA, before facing Sand and Sea in the finals. Sand and Sea, a club team from Santa Monica, came through the losers bracket to face Fresno. And Sand and Sea, up 14-11, was just 1 point away from the national championship itself, when the Fresno Volleyball Club scored 5 straight points to win the game, 16-14, the match, and the 1967 national championship. After a couple of quick points, we knew we had them, said Tom Bazigian, who was named the tournament's most outstanding player. The 1967 Fresno Volleyball Club. We've got 2 members on stage with us. 2 members in front of the stage. We'll go in alphabetical order. John Ahlstrom. Tom Bazigian. Richard Gunner. And George Sarantos up here with me. We also want to acknowledge the other members. Bob Kurtovich, unfortunately no longer with us. Same with Len Kazmarek and Dave Fanning. Don Davis and John Stanley, both unable to be here tonight. The 1967 Fresno Volleyball Club. All right, so Coach, you guys go from being unseeded to national champions. We know how the story ends, but going into the tournament, what were your expectations?
Well, we did pretty well in the far west because, you know, we had a couple players that didn't live in Fresno, but they showed up to a couple tournaments in California, and we did fairly well. And then when we went back to Detroit, there was the AAU tournament prior to the big one, the Nationals, and we took 5th, but we got beat by the Outrigger Canoe Club that went on to win the tournament. So we were gelling as a team, and that helped us playing those tournaments, especially the one before the big one. And we just gelled as a team, and I don't know about the rest of these guys, but I thought we'd win. No, I'm teasing. But anyway, that had a lot to do with, you know, us winning, being able to play that tournament, and we were back there for almost 2 weeks, so it, you know.
Well, George, it's not common anymore for somebody to be a player coach. How did that dynamic work for you and the team?
You know, back then, there were a lot of player coaches. You know, you probably don't, you don't see that now because back then there weren't any college leagues. There were a few college teams, and those players usually played on a club team. But back then, you know, the club teams, usually the coach was one of the players. Now, you know, you've got your college teams and the leagues, and then you've got your national teams, and obviously they all have coaches. But back then, it was fairly common to be a player coach or have something to do with the team.
You know, John, you and John Stanley would go on to make the Olympic team in 1968. There's no question there was a ton of talent on this team. But at what moment did you realize you had this, that you guys were going to win the national championship?
Not till the last point.
That's not what Tom Bazigian said.
Well, you're correct. John and I were members of the national team the year before, and we knew that we would probably go on to be on the Pan American team and so forth and so on. But really what happened, John and I played our game. We played the way we were supposed to play and turn in the kind of game we were supposed to. But really it's the other guys on the team that really stepped up. George and Tom and Richard and Davis and Kazmarek, they all stepped up to play the best they've played. And it wasn't really till we were into, actually, it's a double elimination tournament. So as long as you can stay in the winner's bracket, you got a good chance of winning. And when we won the winner's bracket, which actually was against Westside Jewish Community Center, I had a good feeling that this team wasn't going to beat us. But then when the score was 14-11, but we pulled it out. We put it together.
They actually came back and beat us, and then we had to play one game elimination.
To 15 points, and we won 16-14. By the way, George doesn't say this, but he actually put out a memo before we left to go on the trip that we were going to come back a winner. So he predicted it.
Do we have proof of this memo?
I do. I still have a copy of the memo.
I love it. That's fantastic. Now, you guys are both in the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame as individuals. Can you compare being in as an individual to being in with this team and this team's accomplishment?
Well, you know, you got to realize that when we were playing volleyball, you know, we didn't have a sponsor. You know, later, John and I and John Ahlstrom and John Stanley and I went and played for the Outrigger Canoe Club. Well, obviously, they paid for everything. I played for the Olympic Club after that, and they'd send me a plane ticket. The Fresno Volleyball Club was us. We paid our way. And I can tell you this. Obviously, I've played tennis, and I've won multiple national championships, and I've won 3 worlds in tennis. Played 3 worlds, won 3 worlds, but to win that national championship with the guys, you got to realize that we'd been playing volleyball for years. Some of us we'd go to tournaments and say, "Where are you going?" We wouldn't tell anybody it was volleyball. We're just going to a tournament. They all thought it was going to a basketball tournament. Back then, volleyball was whatever it was, but we all fell in love with it. Richard Gunter and I played multiple doubles tournaments in Northern California. Tom Bozigian, John came back to Fresno. He made an athlete out of John. He took John, they went out to Fresno State and ran the stairs and stuff, and we just all did it. You know, there wasn't anybody. I was the coach only because I was the only setter. We had 5 hitters, and I would set. Richard would come in and set, but if they weren't nice to me and do what I said, I wouldn't set the ball to them. So they had to be nice. So that's how I became the coach, and whatever else you want to, whatever else it was. But for me back then, and still with the guys like Bozigian and Gunner and John and Davis, Kurtovich took me from swim park. He was my playground director. I used to go to Dickey Playground, and I knew Bob well, but he was 6, 7 years old. I'd go to swim park, and he took me from there to the YMCA, and that's where I really started playing volleyball. So it was, it wasn't like we had a couple guys from out of town on that team, but the rest of us had been together for years. I mean, it was big. To this day, I got to say that was the biggest thing for me to win. I've won individually, but not like that.
And you and I have had conversations. You kind of compared this to the 2008 Fresno State baseball team going from potentially, people still consider it the lowest seeded team in any sport to win an NCAA championship. You've made that comparison, right?
Well, we were the best team in the United States. There wasn't any NC2A. And people don't realize that. I don't know how many teams out of Fresno were the best in the United States. Not NC2A or high school or Division II or whatever. We won the big one. It was the biggest upset in volleyball, and a lot of it had to do with John and Stanley and the whole group. I mean, if you weren't in playing, you were. I remember I had the cramps, and Richard was kind of hurt. And I'd come to the side, and he was massaging my calf so I could keep playing. But we'd been together for so many years, and we used to, you know, it wasn't like we had somebody sponsoring us. The one person I want to say something about was the old Fresno Hofbräu. We used to work out at the Y, and that was our hangout. Good beer. And Jimmy Sagatalian. I don't know if you knew him or the Hofbräu, but Jimmy did a little fundraiser for us and got us a little bit of money. If you look at our jerseys, they're really ragtag. I don't know who gave them to us. They may have came from Don Davis. He was Don was the basketball coach at Hanford High, and we used basketball jerseys, and because we didn't have any jerseys. But anyway, that's, you know, it was big for me. I asked John.
Big for me?
Yeah.
I won about 5 national championships in volleyball, and this was the greatest to me. The one I'll remember the most was this, because of just the nature of the team and where we came from. It was, and the people that were there on the team, and the fact, like George said, we paid our own way, and everybody, the bigger club teams had sponsors. And anyway, it was a great win. Fabulous win. I'll remember it, never forget it.
So who would you both like to recognize, thank, acknowledge for helping you become the best volleyball story ever?
We got to recognize each other. Hell, we all pushed each other. I can still remember the last point. It went off me and back to Don Davis, and I, you know, Bozigi and I had played for so long, we didn't have to say anything. If I looked at him, he knew that I wasn't going to set a real high ball. I was going to shoot it to him. So I shot it to him across the court. He's left-handed, and he could jump like a son of a gun, and he hit it, and it went off this guy's hands, and the guy said, 1, that's what you're supposed to say, and then when he saw it sailing out of bounds, he was going, no, 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 and that was match point, national championship. But we'd all played for so long and pushed each other that for a while there back in Detroit, Tom wasn't talking to me until that last point. And then we hugged. I was going to try and kiss him, but and try to make up. But we had pushed each other to play, and we were all friends. You know, it wasn't like being on a club team like John and I played in Honolulu. It was just the camaraderie wasn't there like this volleyball team. I don't know. Ask John. That's the way I saw it.
Well, John, who would you like to thank and recognize out there in the audience tonight?
I got to think.
Oh, please, yeah.
I got to thank my family because, we're leaving weekends. We would go play these tournaments in northern. Somebody'd pick us up at 5 in the morning, and we'd go out of town on the weekends and play. It wasn't for my family and friends and so on. I have to thank that, my family. But anyway.
John, what about you?
Well, number one, family. They supported me all the way. I worked for my dad and my brother, and they used to let me off for the tournaments. And when I played on the national team, they were very supportive. And other than that, I'd have to say, like George, we got to thank the players on the team that made it all happen for us.
All right, the 1967 Fresno Volleyball Club. Let's give them a round of applause. Congratulations on your induction into the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. If everyone could please take a look at the screens for the next inductee.
Andrea Duran can describe in one word what it meant to her to be an Olympian. Amazing.
Duran was a member of the 2008 U.S. Olympic softball team that won a silver medal in Beijing, China. She was chosen for that team after a standout career at UCLA, where she won 2 national championships and was the Pac-10 Player of the Year in 2006. Long before she was a Bruin, Andrea Duran was a Bear. She grew up in Selma, the raisin capital of the world. And ironically, she grew up with the grandchildren of Bobby Cox, another famous Selma High alum, who was in the National Baseball Hall of Fame as one of the most successful managers in MLB history. Duran was a 3-sport athlete in high school: softball, basketball, and volleyball. Softball, of course, was the sport at which she excelled the most and for which she received the most attention. Andrea Duran had a career batting average of .558 at Selma High School, a Central Section record. She also set section records for career hits, single season hits, single game hits, career runs scored, single season runs scored, and career stolen bases. In 2011, 9 years after she graduated, the softball field at Selma High School was renamed Duran Diamond. Andrea Duran continued to shine on the softball field in college. She attended UCLA and was an immediate contributor, playing in 61 games as a freshman in 2003. Despite contending that she was, quote, raw, Duran batted .281 that season in helping the Bruins win the national championship. 3 years later, with another national championship under her belt, Andrea Duran was one of the best players in the country. She hit .355 as a senior in 2006, with 15 home runs and 42 RBI. She was a first-team All-American, as well as the aforementioned Pac-10 Player of the Year. After her time in blue and gold, Duran would suit up in red, white, and blue, first as a member of the U.S. women's national team, then as a member of the USSSA Pride. A national pro fast-pitch player for 9 seasons, Duran led her team to several championships and was the 2014 NPF Player of the Year. Andrea Duran, unfortunately not able to be with us tonight, but she did send in a heartfelt message all the way from Georgia. Let's take a look.
Everyone, it's Andrea Duran coming to you from Alpharetta, Georgia. Super bummed I'm not able to be there tonight at the amazing banquet. I recently got a new job, and with this being on a Thursday night and, flying across country, it was just really hard. I just want to congratulate everybody in this Hall of Fame class. I know that you guys are amazing athletes. Thank you. This is a huge honor for me, especially because I take so much pride on from where I'm from. I go all over the place and people ask me where I'm from and I say Selma, California, and 99% of the time they don't know where that is. So I say Fresno County, and then they kind of have a little bit more of an idea. Special shout outs to my very, very, very first softball coach, Phil Vargas. He's no longer with us, but I know he's up in heaven and he can hear me. Special shout out to my last travel ball coach, Gary Henning. He coached me down in LA for the Orange County Batbusters. He is the one that helped me get recruited to UCLA. So without him, I might not have done what I was able to do, get to the Olympics and continue my career in pro ball. And lastly, of course, thank you to my parents. I'm probably going to cry, so sorry, Mom, if I make you cry. But I can't thank you enough. There's not words or gifts or anything that I could buy to thank you guys enough. Without your dedication and support of my dreams, you made my goals and my dreams your guys' dreams as well, and you supported me throughout my whole career. And none of that goes unnoticed, and I'm grateful and appreciative, especially now that I'm older and I realize how much everything costs. I'm like, whoa, my parents are awesome. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Can't say it enough. And thank you, Mom, for accepting this award for me. I know you hate public speaking, so you guys go easy on her.
So the last few words of that message, as Andrea's mom, Janie, walks over to me, she said, take it easy on her, Mom. So I'll try to do my best. By the way, Andrea and I were corresponding via email. She felt really bad that she wasn't able to make it here tonight. So I said to her, if you could at least send a message in, because we've had that in the past when inductees aren't able to make it. I said, if you send a message in, we can play that on the video board in front of everybody. So she says, okay, how long do you want the video message to be? I said, 45 seconds to a minute. Reasonable amount of time. I'm a TV guy. We get 2.5 minutes for a sportscast. I figure that would be fine. Do you know how long her message was? 8.5 minutes. She had a lot to say. We had to unfortunately edit a little bit of it down for time here tonight, but she is very appreciative of this award. So we'll try to take it easy on you, Janie. Can you respond to what she said there at the end about how much you hate public speaking? Is this really embarrassing for you?
Did she absolutely say hate public speaking? I said I probably should have taken a public speaking class, accepting awards from her for the second time, but I think I worried more about her saying, sorry, Mom, I think I'm going to make you cry.
Well, I didn't want to go there. That's something that you guys can have a conversation with, certainly after the fact. When did you know that Andrea was really good at softball? College scholarship good, Olympic good. When did you know?
Well, you know, it may go back sooner than that, when she was about 14 and was in travel ball, and she hit probably about 40 plus home runs that year, her first year in 14 and unders.
In her message, she talked about always remembering where she's from. How do you think growing up in Selma shaped her development?
It's a small town, and you get to know everybody and play all the sports, and gosh, that's hard. We were just close-knit all the time, and we didn't have maybe the opportunities that we knew about that were going on in Fresno or Visalia, and then we did get knowledge of that by just talking to others about travel ball and stuff. But once we found that out, and Andrea just continued to excel, we took her to Visalia for her first tryout for softball and for travel ball, and that started her career.
She thanked a lot of people in her message. Anyone that was left out or anyone that you would like to recognize here tonight?
Let's see. I think one of the biggest ones, I know she did thank her dad, but he has spent countless hours with Andrea down at the Selma High softball field, hitting her ground balls and pitching to her up until probably, when did she retire? About a year and a half ago. Mom shagged, though. I was a shagger until about. Randy Israelian, he is here tonight. He's the director, the athletic director at Selma High. Thank you for the key to the field. He was very instrumental as well in getting the softball diamond in Selma named after her. I think I have a nephew here tonight that was also a big athlete at Fowler High, and he went to the Olympics and supported her there. So, and of course, all of her coaches. So, and I guess, you know, her papa, who's in heaven now, who really supported not only Andrea, but all his grandchildren that played sports in one way or another.
We'll give one more shout out to Randy Israelian. I know he's sitting in the front right there. Those jerseys are in his office at Selma High School. He is incredibly proud of Andrea Duran. Janie, thanks so much for accepting the award on her behalf. If you wouldn't mind taking a few steps to your left, everybody else is right, so you can receive the Apollo. Gordy Webster's gonna pose for the photo. All right, congratulations. Thanks so much, Janie, on behalf of Andrea Duran. Please turn your attention to the video board for our next inductee. Born and raised in Fresno, Adrian Williams had no shortage of options when it came time to decide where she wanted to play basketball in college. Williams says she was recruited by every top school except for Stanford. They were loaded. Her top 4 schools, in no particular order, were Fresno State, USC, Purdue, and Ohio State. Adrian Williams actually began her high school career in Indiana, where she and her family lived for 3 years when her dad was transferred there for work. Living in the Midwest turned out to be a blessing for Williams. It raised her profile as a nationwide recruit. The family moved back to the Valley in time for her to play 2 years at Clovis West High School and win 2 Valley championships. She graduated from Clovis West in 1995. After much consideration, Adrian Williams chose to attend USC. She says she loved the campus and she was impressed by the tradition of the women's basketball program, citing Trojan greats Cheryl Miller, Lisa Leslie, and Tina Thompson. Adrian Williams would follow in their footsteps. During her 4-year career at USC, Adrian Williams became a member of the Trojans' 1,000-point club. She was named All Pac-10 in both her junior and her senior years, and the expectations she had for herself were so high, she says she was, quote, disappointed because she never won a championship. It is worth noting that Williams' USC career was not without its challenges. She played for 3 coaches in her 4 years there, and she also played with a broken foot in 1997 and 1999, receiving injections before games during her entire senior year. The WNBA did not exist when Adrian Williams was growing up in Fresno. However, the timing of its creation could not have been better. The league began play in 1997, just 2 years before Williams would graduate from USC. After her senior year, though, she had surgery and wound up playing professionally in France for 1 year. It was not until the following year, 2000, when Adrian Williams entered the WNBA draft. She became the 21st overall pick in the second round of the Phoenix Mercury. Adrian Williams played 8 seasons in the WNBA. In 2003, she was an all-star, averaging 9.8 points per game and 7.4 rebounds per game. Williams says her all-star year was validation of how she felt as a player. Williams played professional basketball for a total of 10 years. She retired in 2008 at the age of 31. In addition to her time in the WNBA, she also made stops in Italy, Spain, South Korea, and China. But believe it or not, looking back on her career, she says the most fun she had playing basketball was definitely in high school. You know, it's rare that I get to interview somebody my height or taller. With respect to John Ahlstrom, he's a pretty tall guy as well. So that last line in that video, Adrian, they're your words, but my voice. You told me that on the phone about 6 months ago. The most fun you had playing basketball was in high school. What was it about your time at Clovis West that made it so special?
Well, first of all, it's such a pleasure and a privilege to be here and be a part of this class. And thank you for making me feel so welcome. And I just want to give all glory and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, first of all. And I'm trying not to cry because of Andrea. So it was definitely a privilege to play with that team. And you hear all the inductees from the classes talking about specific moments. They're talking about the scores of each game, and that's from years ago. And so in high school, that's how I felt. I felt like these were my girls, these were my family, this was a team. We're in high school, so we don't, we let the parents deal with all that stuff. We don't hear all that stuff that's going on. In college, we're talking about it, but in high school, we're just playing. We're just having fun, and I really appreciate that time. And it was even more so than about how great we are. And now I realize how great we were. But during that time, we were having a lot of fun. And maybe it was because we were winning, but it was a lot of fun.
You chose to attend USC, which worked out well for you, but Fresno State was in your Final Four. So I got to ask you, because we have a lot of Bulldogs in the audience tonight, what was their recruiting pitch, and how close were you to deciding to go to Fresno State?
Oh, it was great. I love Fresno State. I thought that their pitch was, we're at home. And I grew up here in Fresno, so I knew about the Bulldog fever, and I knew about I would go to games. But the only disadvantage that I would say is my parents lived here, so I wasn't going to stay. No, I really wanted to go away and have a place where they can drive, but have to call first before they.
Close, but not too close, right?
Not too close, but my children will be going where I am,
So your injuries that you suffered in the late 90s, you toughed it out and played for 10 more years. Was there a point, though, where you thought, I got to hang it up, my career might be done?
I first want to say, do not do injections to play a basketball game, okay? Looking back, I did it for the team, and there's so much pressure on athletes to, quote unquote, be there for their team. And, I don't want to get into that, but I did that because of course I cared. But I had a lot of injuries, and when I was talking to you, I started feeling bad for you because I know that everyone wants this great story of championships, and I went into USC wanting to be an All-American, desiring that, the accolade, and because of the many injuries I had, I wasn't able to do that, and I had about 6 or 7 injuries over my career, but to stand here and say that I made it through and I overcame, and now I can be a witness to the people who are going through hard times that you can make it if you keep going. So that's a blessing for me.
You did win a couple of championships at Clovis West, though, so that still counts. Maybe? No?
See, that's still a sensitive subject.
Ooh, sorry for bringing it up.
We did win Valley, but when we got to state, one of our major three-point shooters. See, I understand when people are talking about how this comes right back to you. She got really sick, and so we went into the state without her. So we did great. You know, we won a lot of Valley, but we didn't, and semis, but we didn't win state. So.
You had to have been pressed about the Clovis West girls winning state a few years ago, though, right? Did you watch that from Arizona?
Yes, I was happy about that. I felt like, yes, I can rest, and we won state. And yeah, I was able to go to a couple games when they were in Phoenix, Arizona during the Nike Challenge, so it was good.
Now, Adrian, let me ask you about the WNBA, because it was pretty much brand new when you first got started. What was it like those early years with you being a player on the inside?
Oh, it was fun. But if anyone knows about a startup company, you know that you have to really do a lot of work. So we had to, after games, we would have to stay after and talk to fans and throw T-shirts after we just got blown out by 20, and we'd have to smile and throw T-shirt into the stands. But it was fun, and it was like, we felt blessed to be able to play basketball in the United States. And I was 21 years old. I was playing with women who were 36, 37, very young now that I am 42. Just very, very young 36-year-olds, and they were so excited. I'm 21. I didn't know. Like, I went from high school, college, and then I went overseas for 1 year. They had been overseas for 10, 15 years. So their excitement kind of, came onto me and other younger players. So we knew that this was a really big deal. We knew, and it wasn't just a big deal for the players on the court, but also for the fans to have a women's basketball league in the United States.
Throughout the course of your career, even going back to high school, I'm sure there were plenty of people that reached out to you for advice, looking to you as a role model. What did you tell them?
Depends on what they were asking.
Anything that stands out in your mind right now?
Well, the reason why I say that's because I also teach theology. I'm an adjunct professor of theology. And so everything that I tell, it kind of goes into my faith and my belief that everything happens for a reason, and if God has purposed it, He's going to work it out for them. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. My ministry is young adults and children, and just continuing to encourage them to be who they are designed to be. I believe everyone has a gift, talent, everyone has a purpose, and just to rest in what they feel. Excuse me. I'm not trying to force my kids to do anything, basketball, whatever, but I just really want them to be who they are supposed to be, and that's my message to all of them.
So you mentioned your kids. I know you've got kids here tonight. Who else would you like to recognize and thank?
Well, I wanted to really talk about my kids because my son, he's about 8, almost 9, and he just started playing basketball. And one day his coach wasn't there, and so I said, okay, I'll just do it. So we walk in, and he's like, the coach is not here. And I said, I'll coach you. He's like, you're gonna coach me?
Did he not know that you were a player?
No.
Interesting.
He knew I played, but he's like, you're gonna, I'm like, excuse me, and I had to do you know? I didn't want to say, do you know who I am? But so just being up here is a blessing for me to be able for him to see that girls can do it too, and not just give Capri Suns all the time. And then for my daughter, a lot of people say my daughter's just turned 6, that, oh my gosh, she's your mini me, and she's just like you. And my daughter, she is who I was inside. And I am just so blessed to be able for her to show that you can be a lady and you can, still wear makeup and still look cute and do something at the highest level. So that's what motivates me right now.
Let me ask you one final question, because you said that your son didn't know that you played basketball. What do you think was his reaction when he saw that video that we were playing of you? That's non-HD video. It's a little grainy, not to age you a little bit, but that's video from back in the day. Does he look at that and say, that's not Fortnite, Mom?
Right. How do you not age me by saying grainy video?
It's not you. It's the servers that we had back in the day.
No. He's happy, and I get to see this moment through their eyes. So that's such a pleasure. But to answer your question, question about who I want to thank, and I've never done this before. There's been a lot of people who have been with me along the way, who've encouraged me and motivated me, but I've never just thanked myself. And I'm in this time in my life when I was the one who was there before school, and after school. I was the one in the gym when other people were at the mall or, were doing other things. I was there. And I just, like the other team have talked about each other, I worked hard. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to win the sprints. I won the sprints until the year before I retired from the WNBA. So that's how hard I was in the gym when no one else was there. I was lifting weights after games. And so I want to thank myself for not giving up through the injuries, the coaching changes, and it was nothing but the God in me that made me keep going. And I'm just really grateful for that, and then for the people that also pushed me along the way.
Well, congratulations. She's going in as Adrian Williams, but her married name is Adrian Williams Strong. So let's give it up for Adrian. Thanks very much. Congratulations. If you could just take a step over to your left over here. Want to get a photo of you with your brand new Apollo? Congratulations. Thanks very much. We have one final inductee. Let's take a look one more time at the video board. Matt Giordano is a football player, and he's been fortunate to not only play at the highest level, he's been successful at the highest level. Matt Giordano is a Super Bowl champion, though he'll be quick to tell you that is not necessarily the highlight of his career. Giordano's path to the NFL began in Fresno. He graduated from Buchanan High School in 2001. Roughly 6 months after helping the Bears win their only Valley championship in 2000. Giordano was a two-way player on that team, wide receiver and defensive back, and he says he and his friends still talk about that accomplishment today. After high school, Matt Giordano enrolled at Fresno City College, where he played for 2 years, 2001 to 2002. It was with the Rams when Giordano stopped playing on offense to focus solely on defense. That turned out to be a very smart decision. As a strong safety, Giordano was all-state his freshman season at FCC. He recorded 62 tackles, recovered 4 fumbles, and intercepted 1 pass. A few years later, at Cal, he was first-team All-Pac-10, as well as an honorable mention All-American, after recording 61 tackles his senior season. Matt Giordano played for the Golden Bears from 2003 to 2004, and he was coached by none other than Jeff Tedford. Giordano enjoyed playing for Tedford, referring to him as, quote, very honest, very real. In 2005, Matt Giordano was drafted into the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts picked him in the 4th round, 135th overall. He played in 15 games during his rookie season. In his second season, 2006, he recorded his first career interception in a game against Jacksonville. He still has the football, and the Colts would finish that season as Super Bowl champions. It was surreal playing in the NFL, said Giordano, who recorded 220 tackles and 11 interceptions in 116 games over 9 seasons with the Colts, Packers, Saints, Raiders, and Rams. A few years after his playing career ended, Matt Giordano's coaching career began. In 2016, he took over as the head football coach at his alma mater, Buchanan High School. Let's welcome Matt Giordano to the stage. Now, Matt, we have a unique situation here because you happen to be the great-grandson of young Corbett III, who's in the Hall of Fame as one of the best boxers in Fresno County history. Have you given any thought to that you are a 3rd-generation Hall of Famer?
Not so much now, but...
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
No, but in the past, it was on my mind and my heart to kind of pursue that. I remember boxing, my dad teaching me in the garage and all that stuff, but the Lord wanted me to do football instead.
Well, let's talk about your most recent position, obviously, as the head football coach at Buchanan, because everything just kind of comes full circle. You're at your alma mater. Now, Buchanan does not have a game tomorrow. You guys earned a bye in the Division I playoffs. They're the number 2 seed. What's it like to be at your alma mater coaching? And you've been there for a few years now.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun to, like you said, to come full circle. I was fortunate to be coached by a great coach, and now someone who I coached with, Mike Vogt, who instilled a lot of things, a lot of great characteristics in me that helped me go on my career. But now to help coach these young men and help walk life with them, it's pretty fun.
You played 9 seasons in the NFL. Was there a moment when you felt, okay, I belong?
I just remember the first interception, how excited I was. I was in Jacksonville. We got our tails whooped that night, but I had an interception, and but just getting that interception, getting a hug, getting all that excitement from your teammates, I felt like then, okay, now I could play football.
Do you remember where you were in 2005 when you got that phone call that the Colts were going to take you with their 4th round pick?
I do. Actually, I was in my apartment at Cal. I remember waking up and I got a call from a 317 area code, and that's Indianapolis. And I was about to, I don't know this number, it's probably a telemarketer or something. And I pick it up and I say hello, and he says, "Is this Matt Giordano?" I go, "Yes." And this is Coach Dungy of the Indianapolis Colts. I want to let you know we're going to draft you in the 4th round. And at that point, all my roommates were asleep, and so I immediately ran to kick him and wake him up, turn on the TV, and at that point, I started losing the reception from Coach Dungy, so I ran. There was a 4-story apartment building. I ran, and I talked to Coach Dungy, the rest of the conversation on top of the 4-story building as I got drafted.
Did your roommates follow you up to the roof, or were they just kind of waking everybody else up on that floor?
No, they were awake, and they were watching TV, and one of my roommates says, "What does this mean?" And I was just like, I'm going to go play football professionally. So it was an exciting moment.
Well, here's another exciting moment for you. Super Bowl 41 against the Bears. You deflected the pass that pretty much iced the game for Indianapolis. What was it like to be a Super Bowl champion, and even just in that moment, realizing you made the critical play?
Well, I was just very thankful. That was a special moment. It was one of those things that my wife and I were praying for that game. It's just, we called them God plays. Like, can't explain anything. It was just one of those plays that you just were there in the right moment at the right time, and we're praying for that. And that was a God play. And I saw the ball thrown. I broke on it. That guy was 250 pounds, and I was trying to lay every single pound I had of myself into him, and luckily the ball came loose.
Now, Matt, you mentioned Tony Dungy. You mentioned Mike Vogt. You obviously played for a number of great coaches. Jeff Tedford is another one. What did you learn from Tedford?
What I learned from Coach Tedford is always how to stay positive in coaching. I remember his asking him what was the first year he took over Cal. He changed the program. They were 1-9 the previous year, and then the first year he coached, I think they were 7-6. And I asked him what was the difference, and he said just challenging them in a positive way, constructive criticism. Instead of berating a player, he always just said, "That's not like you." Instead of making them feel bad, you're better than that. Holding kids to a higher standard. I think that's exactly what he's doing now. And he did that to me every single day, and I'm very thankful for it.
You kind of touched upon it a little bit, but that's my next question. Seeing Jeff Tedford at his alma mater, you're at your alma mater, can you appreciate what he's been able to do at Fresno State, turning a double-digit loss team into a double-digit win team?
Oh yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job right now. I know there was a couple rough games this year, but it's just, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take time, and Coach Tedford has all the right coaches and all the right pieces there to do that, and he's a phenomenal coach. We're lucky to have him.
So what does it mean to you, Matt, to be in the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame?
I'm very honored. I mean, you listen the athletes who are a part of this. We got to, hear what John had to say about the volleyball team and everything, but it's just, I think I'm just very thankful. Very humbled to be a part of this amongst these athletes, and very thankful.
So who would you like to thank? Who would you like to recognize? And if you have a list it looked like you're about to pull a list out of your pocket there.
No, I just, in a moment like this, there's so many people to thank. I could be up here for hours, but I'll do it as fast as I can. you know, I could do it chronologically. I could say it starts with my parents, and my parents believing in me when I was a kid, and I was fortunate enough to have great friends who are here tonight, Sam Kuntz and his family supporting me. Now, you know, just in high school, I had a great high school coach, and I had great high school coaches, Jim Moxley, who was part of the table here as well, and then the list goes on when it comes to great coaches, Coach Caviglia, Coach Tedford, and the slew of the great list of coaches, excuse me, to help chase my dreams down. And then the family I have support, and most importantly, I have an amazing wife who I say this about her every single day, and every single time I'm up on stage, is that she makes my good days great, my great days amazing. So I'm very thankful for her, and she is at home a lot by herself with our 3 full of energy kids, and we have a new dog too. So she deserves a lot of credit. I'm very thankful for everybody who helped me be here tonight.
And hopefully she's home by herself a little bit longer, right? You guys want to be playing into December?
Amen.
That would mean Buchanan is not only a Valley champion, but into the state playoffs. Congratulations, Matt Giordano, 2019 inductee into the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. Please head over there to get your Apollo. Congratulations, Matt. Can we get one more round of applause for everybody going in 2019? The 1960 Roosevelt American Legion baseball team, the 1967 Fresno Volleyball Club, Andrea Duran, Adrian Williams Strong, and Matt Giordano. By the way, before I give the microphone back to Mr. Paul Leffler, I got to update you on the score I gave you earlier, right? Who's a Raiders fan? 26-24 Raiders beat the Chargers tonight. Paul, back to you.
All right. You know, I was really tempted when Matt Giordano was up here. I don't know if he ever saw you guys, by the way, holding up his faces over there. But I was really tempted to say, hey, look, there goes Devin Hester, and see if Matt could chase him down from the podium, leaping and flying over there to take him down. If you saw the Super Bowl, you know what I'm talking about. What an incredible class here tonight. What inspiring words we heard. And true to our valley, what humble athletic heroes we're proud to have here in our San Joaquin Valley and here in Fresno, California. Thank you so much for being a part of our 61st annual dinner.